Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Artie Kornfeld.
Well, hello, everybody. I hope you have the spirit tonight, because you should have the spirit tonight. Tonight's a special show. We've had some of the young guns, the Davin McCoys, the Miz, the young kids trying to play the blues, and learning the blues. But tonight, my guest is Jimmy D. Lane, who's in the Blues Hall of Fame, and his father, Jimmy Rogers, is in the Blues Hall of Fame too. And these are people that play with Muddy Waters. And when he comes out, you're going to be talking to a legend, and you're going to be hearing one of the nicest men you ever heard. This is from my crew. The crew that really built the music part. Not all this business stuff that all the kids are worried about. And some of these kids are great. Davin, Miz, Jimmy Nix, they're all great, But there's a whole other blues, and it's not Allman Brothers blues. This is the real blues. This is who the Allman Brothers listen to and try to copy. But nobody can copy the real deal, So anyway, the spirit, the spirit of Woodstock, the spirit of '69. What I say today, I just said it on Facebook, and it just took off. I just said, I live my life 3 days a piece of music, 3 days at a time, forever. So I'm going to put on, this is a 10-minute cut, and it's so good, I like to play the whole 10 minutes. I don't know about the time. So I'm going to put on a cut by Jimmy D that's just incredible, by Jimmy D. Lane, and then bring Jimmy out. And I'm just going to play maybe half of this 10-minute cut, because it's such incredible blues, and such incredible musicians, and such an incredible human being too. So anyway, why don't we listen to Jimmy D. Lane while we get him on, and Bleeding Heart.
People, yeah. You know what it means now to be left alone. People, yeah. Know what it means now to be left alone. I have no liberty, not even a call now on my lonely telephone. Understanding and a little loving, understanding and a little loving is all in the world I need. Understanding and a little loving, understanding and loving is all in the world I need. I've had an understanding, but I know good woman, yeah. And she caused my heart to bleed.
caring about your fellow mankind, and if you really love the blues, and if you care about music, and if you care about your friends who have grandchildren and stuff, like I said before, because of my daughter dying, I don't have grandchildren, but I care about yours, and I have, to me, a very special guest tonight because I love the blues, and yeah, I didn't even realize that I had Jimmy on tonight, and I was so excited when we spoke. And everybody, Jimmy D. Lane, Jimmy, say hello to about 150,000 people out there.
Hey, yo, how's everybody doing?
Yeah. You know what, Jimmy and I, we didn't want to tell him, but we really met in the pre-Neanderthal days. We met in a cave, and I heard a guy playing a guitar, and I was doing some percussion licks, and that's how we really met. That's when it was minus 10 track recording.
Long time ago.
We banged on each other's heads, right?
Oh, yeah, man. Big fun. Well, I appreciate you inviting me on your show, man, and it's good to talk to you again and get to hang out with you for a bit there, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jimmy, it's like, your playing does it, but you as a human being, it's hard not to fall in love with you because, you are so real and so down home, and so incredible.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm just, trying to play some blues and get the message out to the people. And like I said, that goes right back at you too, man. The pleasure's all mine.
Well, thank you. It's always good to know you have another brother.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing, right?
Long time, man.
Long time. It's in your family, right? I mean, tell me a little about your dad. I'm just curious.
Well, he and Muddy Waters and Little Walter, along with a group of other cats there around Chicago back in the 50s. They started that Chicago blues thing that we all love to this day. And with the help of the Chess Brothers, Phil Leonard,
Yeah, I dealt with them. I did that first Minnie Riperton album, the Rotary Connection.
Yeah, Minnie Riperton, she's a good artist, man. Left a huge legacy, man, in such a short time that she was with us,
Yeah, well, her first album was called The Rotary Connection. It was on Chess.
Oh,
I knew the boys because I was working for Irving Green, running A&R for Mercury at the time, Yeah,
Maurice was, I think Maurice White from Earth, Wind & Fire. He cut his teeth there as well. A lot of people know.
Yeah, Joe Wizard produced that, and Joe Wizard actually started with me. Yeah, I know. It's funny when you see the kids and they pass you by. And they say someone planted these seeds somewhere because something nice is growing out of the ground.
But thank God they did plant those seeds.
Yeah, really. I wrote a song once about what if they turned over the field that Woodstock was on and they really cultivated it the next year. What would have happened?
Oh man, we would only be so lucky to know.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm a guy that's sober 33 years, but after 28 years, I sort of figured, what grows in the ground, God put there, and that's your decision. But I say to all the kids out there, keep away from these pills. Keep away from anything that's for white powder. Just keep away from that stuff.
That's right. It's a poison to your system, man. It's poison to what God gave you, and what your mother and father brought here. You don't want something artificial like that to take it away.
No, and you know what? When you play, all of your thoughts about life come out, and that's what makes you so special. It was didn't Clapton make some remark about it? I don't know when, but I was checking things out. But in like the '90s, didn't he make some remark about you playing?
Well, I mean, I appreciate him saying that. We were.
What did he say exactly?
Well, we were cutting a record. We did actually it was my father's last production, and we cut it for Atlantic in Los Angeles. There, we were at Alan Side's place, Ocean Way, and
I worked there. Yeah,
every day. Yeah, so we were cutting this blues, and Eric was a guest on there along with Mick and Keith and a few other cats. Stephen Stills was on that session too, and the producer, a guy by the name of John Koenig, who
Yeah.
has Philly Shields Blue Note there, he produced these sessions. So he and Clapton started talking and so forth and so on. And he made a remark to John about my playing, and I appreciated him, saying that and feeling that way, because it was a fun session, and he kind of made a remark, that he, dug what I was doing, So I mean, I feel strange saying what he said, but
well, you know what? It's not that he's the, honestly, like one of my dearest friends who we talked about, Hugh McCracken, who passed away. I mean, people don't know it, but he's probably one of the greatest guitar players that ever lived.
oh yeah, you man was a monster.
All those years of us being best friends, and he never once even said, BB did 3 of my songs, by the way, this last year, and they're not out, they're in the can, but he never said to me in all the years. Let's see, our first session together was about 1963, 64, and he never even told me that he arranged the Thriller's Gone and played the other guitar with BB.
Well, he did a good job, man, because that song has stood the test of time, man. And I mean, I've made attempts to play it, and I know a few thousand other guitar players as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to if in case BB don't put it out, it must revert back to me, because you know how the deal goes. The producer got half of the writing and the publishing, and then BB got a third, and I think I have 1/16, and I wrote the whole song, But who cares? BB cut it, and that's what matters. If it never came out, I know in my heart that's someone I really respect.
He's got to split his share with Lucille,
Yeah, right. Otherwise Johnny won't be good.
There you go. Johnny won't be good at all.
So let me ask you something. Did you just naturally? When did you get the feeling? I mean, obviously you grew up digging on your father's trip. I guess.
Well, I mean, it started in a weird way, man. Of course, I'd heard him playing around the house, and his buddies, people would drop by, Junior Wells, Buddy Guy, and all those cats, hanging around, Hubert Sumlin and people like that. And, they would do the jams and come by the house and hang out. And my mother cooking chicken or fish or whatever, and they're all up in the living room. And I just loved to hang around my father, and I've always been interested in music, but at that age, as a child, I didn't know who these cats were, hanging around the house like that. But it was every day, man, my mother would play, we'd wake up and she's got somebody on the record player, Sonny Boy or Old Man.
Right.
So you grow up listening to that stuff, But as far as knowing who any of these guys hanging out in the living room were, I had no idea. I wanted to go outside and shoot marbles or whatever. But
right.
I didn't find out who they were and how important they would be to what I wanted to, would eventually end up doing until much later. But I had always been curious about, blues and playing the guitar, watching him around the house, practice or whatever. And I didn't really get serious about it, man, until I was laying on my bed. I'd heard this song so many times, man, in the past. And I had $59 in my pocket, had a set of headphones on and listened to a boombox, and sitting on the bed trying to figure all these things out, what I wanted to do, and heard that song come on the radio, man, Hey Joe. And for some reason, whatever that reason is, I don't know, the only way I could, I guess, the thing I can compare it to is you heard stories of a preacher hearing their calling, something happens in their life or a certain moment, they realize that they want to become a preacher, and that's what they pursue. So this particular day, I heard that song, and the background vocals, I don't know, probably Mitch and Noel and Jimmy doing the background vocals on that. They sounded in a way that I hadn't heard before or since that day. I haven't heard it the same way. But they sounded very angelic for whatever reason, And after the song, ended on the radio, I got up, I went to this pawn shop in Chicago. They used that pawn shop in the Blues Brothers movie, the first Blues Brothers movie,
Right.
the scene where Ray Charles was the owner.
Right.
Yeah, so that is an actual pawn shop in Chicago. Sits off King Drive there.
Yeah.
So I went to that pawn shop, man, and I had that $59 in my pocket, and I saw this little Harmony, old Sears Roebuck Harmony guitars they used to make. I saw that sitting up there, and I tried it out and said, okay, I'll take this one. Yeah. So the guy saw I only had $59. He threw in a cord and put it in the box for me. Yeah. So I brought that guitar back, and I just had to figure out that song, Hey Joe. I had to figure out how to play that song. Yeah. So that's where it started for me as far as playing. Years before, I would mess with the old man's guitar, but I didn't understand it. My mind at that age was concentrating on going outside, playing with Jim Danny and the rest of the kids, and playing baseball and so forth and so on. Yeah. But it got serious for me after hearing Hey Joe, which is
You know what? You're definitely a man that deserves all the good luck in the world, and
Thanks.
why don't we just go right into the fact that some of us do have bad luck, and I'd like to proudly present Jimmy D. Lane and Bad Luck.
When Daddy died on Friday, Saturday's in a bed. Went to jail on Sunday, shot the doctor 'cause he wasn't safe. Had to leave Chicago. Laid a lot of bad love on me. Guess I'll head out to Vegas. Maybe these blues will let me be. Well, I pulled into Vegas about 9:45. Old lady got around, they thought I was a guy. By 10 they took me for a ride. Now I'm leaving Las Vegas. Laid a lot of bad love on me. Think I'll head out to California. Maybe these blues will let me be. LA's a pretty thing on the right side of town, but I hit Sunset Strip when the sun was down. Now I'm leaving California. Had a lot of bad love with me. Think I'll head back to Chicago. Maybe these blues will let me be. my very soul. Need your hands to guide me back to what I used to call my home. I had to leave Chicago, laid a lot of bad love for me. I had so much trouble. Maybe these blues will let me be.
Everybody who says they like the blues now, that's the blues. You know what? I've mentioned many times that the blues was not born with the Allman Brothers in Macon, Georgia. You know, Phil Walden did not create the blues. You know, the blues was around an awful long time, going back probably to the, you know, we're talking into the 1800s.
Oh, easily so, man. You know, actually, I was in Durban, South Africa recently, and they had some kids there. They were trying to explain, you know, about where the blues come from. They had a kind of workshop thing going on, and a lot of the kids there had no idea of their direct relationship to where blues music started, man. And it blew my mind. You know, the drum. You know, we were just talking about different drummers there, and you know, different people.
Yeah, and Crazy Bernard. I still can't remember what that sign said.
Bernard Purdy, yeah.
Right.
It escapes me too right now, but he used
pretty
to
pretty boy. Oh God, that's an inside joke, everybody. If you've been in the studio a lot of times, you know what they're laughing about. An incredible drummer named Bernard Purdy.
Yes, Lord.
Who was a character and a great drummer.
Yes, Lord, he is.
A great drummer.
Yes, he was, man. Beautiful cat. But the African drum, you know, was a communication device that they used, you know, to deliver a message from one village or tribe to another, you know.
Right.
The language was different, you know. Some spoke Swahili and some were Zulu, you know, different tribes. But they carried that common language of music through the drum, you know. So I had an opportunity to talk to them about that, you know. So, I mean, it goes even that far back. And when the slaves were brought over, they carried that communication because they were no longer what do you call it? They weren't allowed to speak in their native tongues, you know.
Right.
So if somebody passed away over here, they would beat that drum and get the message over there, you know. So
right.
It goes way back then, man. And then you came out with the field hollers that developed from that time, you know. They would do, oh Lord, Master worked me so hard today, you know, different things like that. They couldn't come out and say Master, you know, was a bad man, or, you know, they didn't run the risk of being whipped or killed or had their foot cut off or whatever. So
right.
they put it in terms of, you know, a song type thing. So you have the derivative of where the blues, modern day blues, came from. Yeah, you got guys like Robert Johnson, Charlie Patton, and cats like that, you know. So there's a long history to it, you know. There's a long history to it, and then it made its way to the people that my old man and Muddy and cats like that listened to. back in the day, Robert
Well,
Johnson.
it's funny. We talk about the kids, and to the kids are now the guys that are 70.
My feet tell me that every morning.
No, you know what? It's like, my prayer is, that everybody who's good, everybody who's good and knows about loving and caring,
Right.
let them wake up tomorrow healthy.
That's right. That's right. Man.
That's it. It's universal.
That's
It's
exactly
universal.
Exactly.
So let me ask you something. You play with almost everybody. Who is I don't know, who did you enjoy playing with?
Well, at the top of that list, I would definitely have to put my father. I learned so much from him. I mean, not only about music, you know what I'm saying. I learned a lot of life lessons from him and the different people around him. Pine Top Perkins, Hubert Sumlin, Robert Jr. Lockwood, people like that. As far as recording with, I really enjoyed that session that we did for my father with Clapton and Keith and Stephen Stills, people like that. I enjoyed that. Within itself was a learning experience, watching the way those cats set up their amps, and you tune in and get the sound you want. It was a definite experience. I really.
Yeah, it's a whole other world. If people are exposed, had a chance to be exposed to real blues. I'm not talking about the commercial blues. I'm talking about real blues.
Exactly.
It would be there'd be a whole different radio. There'd be a whole different. I think radio was much more honest in the late 50s.
I think it was too, man. You had people that went against the system to get those songs played. The real songs. I'm not talking about the Pat Boone version of a Little Richard song. Some people.
Well, listen, I'm a pop writer. I had 57 songs made the charts, and they were pop. But I also had the one. I also had the Jerry Butler. I was really proud. When Jerry Butler did 3 of my songs because he was the Iceman. Come on.
Yeah, that's right. That is right out of Chicago, there, Jerry Butler.
Yeah, I know. And I was when I heard he had done he had done 3 of my songs. I was like so stoked. It was like And then I saw that show where they had the old doo-wop guys in, and they had and Jerry was the host, and it was amazing how everybody still had their chops. It was amazing.
Back
they were 105 years old, and they still had their chops.
Exactly, but man, you dealt with a lot of those cats in some of their original recordings. That was real stuff, man. There was no pretension. There was no studio gimmicks, no tricks. Ray Charles, man, would go in and do a song, one take, live to 2-track, man, So you'd be hard pressed these days, and I mean it's not to knock any of the new musicians, but we've been spoiled with mechanics and technology. You can, if you mess up, you can go back and you can punch in, that type of thing. Those guys back then didn't have that, man. Ray, Aretha, they were one-take wonders, man. They would knock that stuff on out.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that luxury either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What do we have? 3 hours to cut 3 songs, and that included overdubs, mixing, and everything.
That's right. You go in and you come in ready. If you make a mistake, especially back in the days when they were cutting direct to disc, you're cutting right on that doggone plaque. So if you mess that up, you have to take that disc off, crack it because it's no good, put another one on, and start cutting. So then it was time consuming. You had an hour to do it, or 3 hours to get it down. Get a good track, get it laid, and it's release just like that. There was no mixing, no mastering, none of that stuff. So I have a real healthy respect for all of those cats back there.
Well, we talked for like an hour, right? About 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago, and I was talking about how I had those last Shirelles records that were just demos,
That's right.
And the stuff that we got out because you really had to know what you were doing. There was no Pro Tools where you could just cut and paste.
Right.
You know, if you miss it, you have to do it all over again.
That's right, man. You take that red light come on, you're cutting, and when it goes off, that's it. You listen back to it and hope that it was a good take. A lot of the stuff that we hear now from back then, we can hear where there was certain instrumental mistakes or whatever, but you left it in because to disturb that or try to do it again, you lose the spontaneity.
You never get the groove.
Never get it back. That's right.
No. I sometimes I ask different friends of mine that have had success. Either amongst musicians or even with the public. That feeling in the studio for me when a rhythm section connects. And you're in the studio, and you know that you nailed that. Boy, that's one of the highest feelings that I have experienced.
Man. When you get it, and you realize that you have something magically happening, there's something magical going on at that moment, and everything is locking in. You groove it. You hit another zone, and it's hard to get there. You don't get there all the time either, but when that magic happens in the studio, it happens, and hopefully that machine has captured it. Yeah,
you know what? There was like two young musicians that were really good that had records out for a year, and I started working with them and stuff, and they for some reason it's a different business now, and I don't know. How many times did you hear that it's a different business, and it never changed?
Yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same in a lot of ways, man.
Yeah, and if you believed in something, then you go travel to a radio station and you beat the hell out of the guy until he played the record.
That's the way it is, man. If you believe in what you do, I like to believe every time I hit the stage, you say every word like you mean it, and you play every note like it's the last one you're going to play, and you want it to say so much. It's not about the number of notes. It's the depth and the feeling that you put into every single note, man.
What was it? And let me ask you something. As far as playing live with one of the newer blues players, like an Eric or someone like that.
Yeah.
Was there one show that you did that stands out in your mind?
Live show. Well, we were in Wembley Stadium in London, and it was right after Gary Moore, who used to play guitar for Thin Lizzy.
Right.
He recorded My Old Man Walking by Myself.
Yeah, great song.
We had a lot of fun with that number, man. And we were playing, and the whole stadium started singing Walking by Myself with Pop. And I looked over at him, and he looked over at me while we were on stage, and I just felt so proud of him, So that performance always sticks out in my mind as one of my favorite moments on stage.
It's weird, you talk about Pops and my mother is so known because of her civil rights, work that she did. But my dad, who was a New York City policeman, and how he worked 3 jobs to raise 7 brothers and sisters and gave up a full scholarship because he was an Olympic swimmer. He was also 6'5", 250, and one of the sweetest men. And looking back at it now that they're wherever they are,
That's right.
I just realize now, I wish I didn't happen so young and so fast. I could have spent more time with my family.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. You think about every day, one way or the other. I wish he was here now, to see his grandkids, my sons and my wife and I, his daughters. We miss those moments, and we don't really realize it while we're in the middle of it. She and I always talk about the time that we didn't get to spend with him, and how we would love to have spent more time with him. I mean, and it was not just a musical thing. It's just with me and him. I mean, we were on the road together. I just was on the road with him about 15 years. But he was my father, man. And I really miss him. And I really wish that I had spent a lot more time with him and my mother than I actually did.
Well, you know what? Because the show, and we're going to be pushed, and I really want him to really get into, where your music is at. And I want to ask you a question, and maybe you can answer musically. What makes people? You got that cue, Z-Man? You ready for that?
What makes people do the things they do? What makes people do the things they do? It's the very thing that makes my baby love me like she do. What makes people say the things they say? What makes people say the things they say? It's the very thing that makes my guitar play. What makes people make them pick and choose? What makes people what makes them pick and choose? It's the very thing that makes my daddy say the fool. It's the very thing that made my daddy say the fool. It's that very thing that made my daddy sing the blues.
We're back, Artie.
I'm back with someone that I always wanted to meet. Didn't know I'd have the pleasure to meet this person. And since this should be a 3-hour show, and all you young bands who come on and say your blues band should be listening, because it might help your next cut when you go in. Jimmy, where's your music available?
Well, you can go to my website, jimmydlane.yolasite.com. That's Yolasite, YOLASITE.com, jimmydlane.yolasite.com, and there's a link there where you can get the CDs and, that stuff. You can find all of the stuff that we've been talking about and listening to.
This week, you just get it to me. I'll throw it on my wall, which is ridiculous because it'll get to like 10,000 people on Facebook. And this is just Irv's son and Shirley's son, Artie, with his friend Jimmy, and just two lost souls on the highway to life. And you know what? our whole lives we've been putting in 24/7, 10 times over, just to have the opportunity to be here with you tonight. So thank you all, because without you, we wouldn't even exist.
Well, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, and I look forward to talking to you at home, and God bless you and the family, and let's just go out the way we lived our life, 24/7, all the way.
Gotta find a true love and get a diamond ring. Take you back home and make you my queen. You know I love you. I love you, yes indeed. 24 hours, 7 days a week. Listen good, baby, everything is on the line. Don't do me wrong, and I won't do time. You know I love you. I love you, yes indeed. 24 hours, 7 days a week. I'd rather camel across the desert sand just to get to you. Tell your mother she's the greatest in the land. Just don't leave it blue. Come on now. To live forever and never grow old. You know I love you. I love you, yes indeed. 24 hours, 7 days a week. 24 hours, 7 days a week. 24 hours, 7 days a week.